Some crimes are so brutal, so shocking, that they leave an entire nation in disbelief. This is one of those stories, a tragic case of jealousy, revenge, and unimaginable cruelty. This is the horrifying murder of 12-year-old Shanda Sharer. January 10th, 1992. New Albany, Indiana. Shanda Sharer was a bright and energetic 12-year-old girl. She had recently transferred to a new school and made friends quickly, but it was here that she caught the attention of another student, Amanda Heverin. The two became close, and soon their friendship turned romantic. However, there was someone who wasn't happy about this, 16-year-old Melinda Lovelace. Melinda had previously dated Amanda, and she was seething with jealousy. She saw Shanda as a threat, someone who had taken Amanda away from her. And in her rage, she began plotting a horrific act of revenge. Melinda's jealousy grew into an obsession. She would write notes, vent to friends, and even threaten Shanda in conversations. Many thought she was just an angry teenager going through heartbreak, but they had no idea just how dark her thoughts had become. On the night of January 10th, 1992, Melinda Lovelace, along with 3 other teenage girls, Lori Tackett, Hope Rippey, and Toni Lawrence, put their plan into motion. Lori, a girl known for her fascination with the occult and the macabre, was the one who encouraged Melinda's growing rage. The group decided they would teach Shanda a lesson, but what started as a cruel prank would quickly turn into something far more sinister. They lured Shanda out of her house by pretending to be friends of Amanda, claiming Amanda wanted to see her. Excited and unsuspecting, Shanda got into their car. She had no idea she was being taken to her death. As they drove, Melinda hid under a blanket in the back seat. When they were far enough away, she suddenly emerged, holding a knife. She taunted Shanda, threatening her, telling her that she was going to die. Shanda, terrified, begged for her life. But her pleas fell on deaf ears. The girls first took Shanda to an abandoned house, where they continued to torment her. They stripped her of her clothes, tied her up, and took turns beating her. Melinda, still fueled by jealousy, was particularly cruel. She mocked Shanda, laughing as the young girl screamed in terror. They then forced Shanda back into the car, where they continued to torture her. They stabbed her multiple times, strangled her with a rope, and even burned her with cigarette lighters. At one point, thinking she was dead, they put her in the trunk of the car. But Shanda was still alive. The group drove around for hours, stopping occasionally to check on her. Each time, they realized she was still breathing. Instead of showing mercy, they continued their sadistic game, beating her again whenever she made a sound. At one point, they stopped at a fast food restaurant, laughing and joking as they ordered food, completely unfazed by the horror they had just committed. All the while, Shanda was still fighting for her life in the trunk of the car. Realizing that Shanda was still alive, the girls made one final horrifying decision. They stopped at a gas station, bought a bottle of gasoline, and drove to a remote field. There, they pulled Shanda out of the trunk. She was barely conscious, unable to fight back. They poured gasoline over her body and set her on fire while she was still alive. They watched as the flames consumed her body before driving away, laughing as if it were all a game. The next morning, 2 hunters came across what they first thought was a burned mannequin. But as they got closer, the horrifying truth became clear. It was a human body. Police were called, and an investigation began immediately. The crime shocked the small town of Madison, Indiana. Who could have committed such a brutal act? Investigators didn't have to wait long for answers. Toni Lawrence, one of the girls involved, was overcome with guilt. She broke down and confessed everything to police, leading to the arrest of all 4 girls. The details of the crime were so gruesome that they made national headlines. Melinda Lovelace, Lori Tackett, Hope Rippey, and Toni Lawrence were all charged with murder and tried as adults. Melinda and Lori, the ringleaders, were sentenced to 60 years in prison. Hope Rippey received 50 years, while Toni Lawrence, who had cooperated with authorities, was sentenced to 20 years. The brutality of the crime left jurors, the media, and the public in shock. How could teenage girls commit such an act of pure evil? The court proceedings revealed the disturbing psychology of the perpetrators, particularly Melinda Lovelace, whose history of abuse and instability may have contributed to her violent tendencies. Over the years, some of the girls have been released from prison. Hope Rippey and Tony Lawrence were granted parole after serving part of their sentences. Melinda Loveless, the mastermind, was released in 2019 after serving 26 years. Shanda's mother, Jack Vaught, was devastated by her daughter's death. But in an incredible act of strength, she turned her pain into something positive. She became an advocate for victims of violent crimes and even worked to help rehabilitate troubled youth. She also did something truly remarkable. She forgave one of her daughter's killers. Jack met with Melinda Loveless years later and even worked with her on projects to help abused animals. She believed in the power of redemption, though she never stopped grieving the loss of her child. The murder of Shanda Sharer remains one of the most disturbing crimes in American history, a haunting reminder of how jealousy and peer pressure can lead to unthinkable acts of violence. Thank you for watching. If you found this case shocking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life crime stories. Stay safe and see you next time.